Hi, the introverted cynist here. Today, I am going to explain a 2021 South Korean thriller film titled Midnight. Warning, spoilers ahead. Kick back and take care. The movie begins with a woman having a quarrel with her husband while getting off from overtime. The place is deserted and she is unable to find a cab at that point of hour. Just then, a man named Do-shik arrives in a van and offers to drop her next to a taxi stop, but she refuses by saying she won't ride with strangers. After then, while talking with her husband, she overhears the man moaning for help. She then slowly and carefully approaches the van to witness another man mutilated. Meanwhile, through the apparel, the mysterious man emerges and grabs hold of her and kills her. He then later calls 911 and informs about the situation by falsely narrating the story, pretending to be shook up and befuddled, to the cops, revealing to witness a murder done by foreign workers and directs them to the two bodies. The cops now instruct him not to go anywhere and then checks on the bodies. The scene then cuts to a call center where we are introduced to Kim Kyung-mi, a deaf person who works as a sign language counselor. Kim, after a couple of calls, encounters an abusive customer desperate for a refund. But Kim, startled at first, coverts her anger and advises her not to be abusive and then abruptly disconnects the call. Afterwards, we see Choi Seo-young, ready for a date, sneaking out of her room, wearing a skirt but gets caught by her brother, Jong Tak, a former officer in the Marine Corps, now working at a security company. He then orders her to change and wear unacceptable clothing. She then succumbs and gets changed for the date. After paying her, he then says to be back by 10, but she gleefully changes to 12 and flees. Right then, Kim sends a message to her mother, who is also deaf, working as a tailor, to plan a trip to Jeju Islands, which is a special place to them. Later that evening, after getting payment from her employer, she leaves and walks through an alley. Kim, now waiting for her mother, constantly observes the amplifier for any external noises. Kim then spots her mother and beckons her to the car, but suddenly the amplifier starts spiking due to a bike speeding through the footpath. Kim, now hysteric, tries to inform her, but fortunately has a hair-breadth escape. Kim now requests her mother to look around and be careful next time, but the mother now changes the subject and mentions about getting paid and mockingly says she is rich and says the dinner is on her. The pair now share a laugh. Jong Tak, now worried because Choi has not replied to his messages and has not reached home before curfew. After reaching, Kim drops off her mother to the stall and informs her she'll be back after finding a parking spot. Unfortunately, Do-shik spots the mother and follows her with a knife, intending to strike. Just then, Choi walks in the opposite direction talking to her brother. He then changes his mind and expeditiously pursues her. After some time, Jong Tak collides with Kim's mother and asks her about his sister, to which she just mumbled. Meanwhile, Kim finds a parking spot and starts walking to her mom, but suddenly, a high heel shoe is thrown in front of her from a dark alley. Kim becomes skeptical after a second shoe is thrown and then cautiously approaches the area and suddenly, Choi's hand grabs Kim and pulls her closely, crying for help. Kim, now terror-stricken, is caught behind the back by the killer wearing a face mask, about to blow a strike with an axe. But Choi manages to tackle him, making Kim run for her life. She then reached the parking lot, assuming she lost him, and then slowly opens and closes the door without making a noise. She then video calls her mother, nervously informing her not to go anywhere, and cuts the call. She now observes the amplifier spiking and then carefully looks around. Do-shik, now laughing, slowly raises his head from behind, then ridicules her disability and instructs her to drive to her mother. Kim slowly takes her car out, but stops abruptly, then suddenly steps on the gas, making him pull back and suddenly brakes the car, making him fall forward. Kim then fortunately slips away and runs swiftly through the parking lot and alleyway to reach her mother. While pursuing her, Do-shik slips and falls and disappears. After reaching, she presses an emergency button, alarming the police in the area. Do-shik, now in the van, changes his outfit, then disguises himself in a suit and approaches the pair. He then, under false pretense, fabricates a story of him missing his sister and inquires about her. Kim, without recognizing him, says there is a woman hurt next to the alley and guides him there. Do-shik, now elated, is unfortunately accompanied by the police. After searching the area, the cop says such a girl cannot be found anywhere, but feeling uncertain, Kim then guides the cop to check the camera footage. Apparently, malicious teenagers, after being high, distorted the cameras, shattering her hopes. Kim then tries hard to communicate on what happened, but the cop fails to understand and guides them to wait downstairs. In the lift, the mother raises her suspicions on Do-shik as to him glancing at them often. But Kim informs it could be due to the way in which they communicate. She then responds of him being calm instead of being tense. He then takes out a black phone from his bag, falsely informing he received a message from his sister. While giving statements, Do-shik gets into a kerfuffle with a delinquent who tried to belittle him. The cop present there tries to separate them and takes the delinquent out the door. Just then, he drops a white phone and after a quick examination, sees a photo of a girl as the wallpaper. He then takes it off her, raising her suspicions even more. Meanwhile, Do-shik takes a look at Kim's specifics, learning about her name and address. While reading, the mother shares the information to Kim, but Do-shik, now confused as to what they conveyed, approaches the mother and gives her a devious look. They are suddenly joined by Jong-tak, being apprehensive about his sister, and reveals it to his friend. After inquiring the details, he then asks him to check with the trio if she fits the description. Jong-tak, unknowingly, asks Do-shik about Choi, but deceptively replies to have no information about it. He then shows the picture to the mother, but she fails to see the picture clearly. Finally, he shows the picture to Kim, which made her overwhelmed, and informs them it is the same girl. While explaining the details to him, Do-shik now places the bag on the mother's lap, revealing a set of tools, and watches him with a knife and screams in horror. Do-shik now tried to stab Jong-tak, but he catches it. The killer now wickedly reveals that he is the culprit Jong-tak is looking for. But Jong-tak informs he messed with the wrong man and dodges his knife. Meanwhile, the mother and Kim leaves the place. A macho fight ensues between the duo, wrecking the place. Just then, Jong-tak, while choking him, asks about his sister, to which he mimics on how Choi spoke, aggravating Jong-tak. He then gets hold of the knife and places it on his neck. Later, the cops come into the scene and witnesses Do-shik acting innocent, begging for his life, making them take out a taser and shoot Jong-tak because Do-shik is a witness and handcuffs Jong-tak. After the commotion, Do-shik steps outside, but the cop apologizes for the mistreatment, making Kim and the mother confused, not knowing what happened inside. Later, after receiving the information, the two cops apologize to Jong-tak and drops the mother and Kim to their house and leaves. The home is installed with sound-sensitive lights, toys and amplifiers, manifesting a guest. Later, the mother and Kim, after having a long day, decides to hit the sack when suddenly the lights start to flicker and seeing a presence outside the glass door. Kim carefully opens the door to reveal the mother's sister who came to take the tailored clothing for the shop, and they both leave. Afterwards, the lights start to flicker again, but Kim fails to notice. Do-shik now meticulously opens the door and messes around for a while and starts offing the flickering lights before Kim notices. Kim then sees a card of Jong-tak and tries to console him. Meanwhile, the killer takes out an axe and delivers a monologue to Kim, but the sound-sensitive toy catches Kim's attention. Do-shik now rushes to strike Kim, but she fortunately ducks and sneaks into her room and locks it. She then messages Jong-tak about the killer in her home. Jong-tak, after reading the message, hurries to her home. Kim now warns her mother not to come home, but she receives a strange reply, indicating that the killer has her phone. He then uses an axe to break the door down and tries to enter the room. Kim, with all her might, jumps out the window, landing safely on some cardboard boxes. She then runs with the killer behind her. It now turns into a silent chase. Meanwhile, Jong-tak spots them running and pursues after them. While running, Kim almost meets with an accident when she reached the edge of the road, but continues running after being spotted. After a wild turn of events, Kim, now crying, gets cornered and gets hold of a chair as defense. Do-shik, now behind, orders her to come closer. At the same time, Jong-tak arrives and confronts him. Do-shik then holds a knife to his own neck, saying he would rather die than get beaten up, and sends a location to him and makes a deal. Do-shik now says Jong-tak can either save his sister's life or Kim's life, but not both, because he is hell-bent on killing at least one person. Jong-tak, now baffled, takes a pause and then apologizes to Kim and runs away to his sister. Kim now becomes helpless and tries to yell for help. After reaching Jong Tak calls Do Shik for the location, but the killer, now having the upper hand, ridicules and mockingly cuts the phone. Kim's mother joins Jong Tak and they both pursue and try to rescue Kim. Kim now throws a handful of dust on the killer's face before getting stabbed and runs endlessly. After some time, Kim, now somehow reaching the killer's van, suddenly witnesses Choi jump out of the van, struggling and still injured. They both now silently sneak around the corner, out of sight from Do Shik. Kim now informs that Choi's brother is nearby and gives her Kim's phone and takes the stolen knife from the van and decides to leave with a heavy heart. Before Do Shik could get his hands on Choi, he is distracted by Kim with a knife. He then slowly approaches her, but suddenly she hits the emergency button, alarming the cops and run away. Choi now calls Jong Tak, revealing to be alive, and discloses her location. Kim now runs to the middle of the road of downtown and becomes unaware and scared. Luckily, she is unharmed and then runs to a group of people and try to communicate her ordeal to them. Do Shik now deviously laughs at her plight, but suddenly she pulls out her knife and causes a scene, making the others panic. Jong Tak, now overjoyed after seeing Choi, who is being escorted and taken care. But the mother, looking for Kim, gets a response from Choi by reading her lips and leaves unbalanced, still searching. Do Shik now announces to the people not to call the police by falsely informing Kim is his sister. She then runs away but later gets hold of her knife and succumbs to him. Kim has an emotional breakdown and requests not to kill her as she has a lot of dreams to accomplish. She wants to travel with her mother to a lot of places, get married to a good man, and have 2 children. And adds she won't be able to do all this if he kills her now, and eloquently begs to him. The killer, now exhausted, takes her to an alley and slowly intimidates her. Just then a voice approaches his ear. Jong Tak now throws him to the wall and kicks him repeatedly and announces a crazy dog like him needs to be beaten to death, and then gets him on a chokehold, but he outfoxes him and reminds Jong Tak that he needs to kill one person and aims for the mother. The mother, now wandering around crying and looking for Kim, suddenly comes across Do Shik and informs her that Kim is in a room next to her and directs her there. Kim, now watching her mother with Do Shik from afar, runs to him and stabs. But Do Shik does not feel anything and asks if she knows how to use a knife mockingly. It was then revealed Kim stabbed herself and purposely hands him the knife, making him baffled and euphoric at the same time. While the cops surround him, he slowly gets paranoid after watching Kim smile and gets triggered by it. He then cuts a policeman and later gets shot on his leg. The killer, now trying to stand up, gets a bold response from Kim, saying, "Pricks like him deserves to be crapped on." Enraged, the killer, when about to strike her, gets shot several times, killing him. The movie ends with Kim and her mother enjoying their time in Jeju Islands, bluffing and bragging about their wealth, having a good time. They are then accompanied by Choi and Jong Tak and gets acquainted, then jovially takes a photo by the beach to remember. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and comment if you enjoyed, and subscribe for more videos.